Hi everyone, my name is Jen. I'm an author and a book reviewer, and I am here today trying to find some light on this gloomy day, nestled in among the fake plants, to talk to you about all the books that I've bought recently and been sent for review. All of the books that I mentioned will be listed in the description box down below. The first three I actually don't have to hand. One, because one of them is arriving in the post today, but I want to film this now, so we'll just insert the cover here. And the other two, because I've put them in a box, as you know, or may not know if you're new, we moved house recently. There are still some boxes, and those two books are in boxes somewhere. So again, I will just insert on the screen. This is really bad self-promotion because these are books that are two of which are mine and one of which I am part of, so well done me. But the one that's arriving today, and happy Pride to everybody, is 100 Queer Poems, and this is a collection of 100 queer poets by, 100 queer poems by 100 queer poets, edited by Andrew McMillan and Mary Jean Chan, who I love very much. And yeah, I have a poem in here, and I'm very excited to read everyone else's work, and it's out now, and you can find it at your local bookshop or library, and that would be very lovely. Please go find it. And the other two books are translations of some of my children's books. So the Ukrainian edition of Franklin's Flying Bookshop is now out, and also the Chinese edition of Franklin's Flying Bookshop, Franklin and Luna Go to the Moon, and Franklin and Luna and the Book of Fairy Tales, they're also out now. So if you happen to be looking for those translations, you can now find them out in the world, which is very exciting and lovely. And I will link my website down below if you want to find out which languages my books have been translated into. There are about 15 depending on which titles you're talking about. Anyway, so that's the self-promotion over. Now we're going to talk about other people's books. So the first book that I bought recently is a poetry collection by Paul Tran, and I bought this because I saw their poem Bioluminescence online. Excuse me, someone had shared it somewhere, and if you've read The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night, you will know that I have a bit of an obsession with bioluminescence and the depths of the ocean and the fish that live there, and how we can use that to talk about bodies. Once I read that poem, I had to purchase it, so let me read you the very beginning of that poem. There's a dark so deep beneath the sea, the creatures beget their own light. This feat, this fact of adaptation, I could say is beautiful, though the creatures are hideous. Lanternfish, hatchetfish, viperfish, I, not unlike them, forfeited beauty to glimpse the world hidden by eternal darkness. I'm really intrigued by this. This again is a collection of queer poetry. Did I say what it was called? It's called All the Flowers Kneeling. Then I purchased this memoir by Emily Rapp. I read Emily Rapp Black's book, Frida Kahlo and My Left Leg, in April, and really loved it. And this is her actual memoir. So the book of hers that I read was kind of a discussion surrounding motherhood and about her relationship with Frida Kahlo's art, both looking at how they approach subjects creatively, but also both being amputees as well. So this is her actual memoir. It's called Poster Child, and in part it's about her becoming a poster child for a charity. I can't read you a blurb because it's just got quotes on the back from lots of people who have absolutely loved it, and as I said, I really loved her other book, so I'm excited to read that one. I purchased Woman Eating by Claire Kohda, which I think came out a couple of weeks ago, and I've heard lots of buzz around this one, and it just sounds quite fun. This is a debut, and it's about a 20-something vampire who is away from her mother for the first time, and she's trying not to eat people, and she's trying to source, I think, pig's blood in London. And it says, then there are the humans, the people in the gallery where she interns, the strange men who follow her after dark, and Ben, a goofy-grinned artist she is developing feelings for. Lydia knows that they are her natural prey, but she can't bring herself to feed on them. I just think this sounds really delightful. And the author, as well as being an author, is also a violinist, and she has performed in the London Contemporary Orchestra, the English Chamber Orchestra. She's on various film soundtracks, and I enjoy that as well. Then I bought this. I love the title of this. This is Pasta Grannies. I don't think that we really need much of an explanation, but you may know if you've been here a while that I really enjoy making pasta from scratch. and I want to mix it up a bit. I want to find some other things that I can make. And I've just made the mistake of flicking through this book, and it's going to make me really, really hungry. This is just lots of recipes from Italian grandmothers that relate to pasta and carbs, and who doesn't love those things? So I'm excited to try some recipes from that. Then I bought this poetry collection, and again I read an extract of this online, and in a second I will try and find the extract that enticed me. But this is Oxygen by Julia Fiedorczuk, and this is translated from the Polish by Bill Johnson, I think. Yes, by Bill Johnson. I just giggled to myself because I opened the book and I opened it on a page called Lola, which was a poem about a dog, but that was not the one that I had spied online. In fact, the one I'd seen online was the title poem, Oxygen, and the first stanza of that is, "I'll show you love in a handful of stars. Have you seen the spectacle of snow on the roadside leaves, the purple silhouette of a December day? I came here in order to breathe." And I was just entranced by that. And then the last one that I bought before we move on to books that I've been sent for review is this one, which was a recommendation from Kendra, and I will link her down below. So this is Easy Beauty by Chloe Cooper Jones. This is an essay collection where she's talking about her relationship with her disabled body and how other people view it. And the top of the blurb says, "I am in a bar in Brooklyn listening to two men, my friends, discuss whether or not my life was worth living." As you know, I am always on the lookout for more disabled voices, and I'm very much excited to read this, especially because Kendra rated it so highly. So that is another one for the TBR. Right, moving on to books that I have been sent for review. So firstly, we have a literary journal here. So this is Modern Poetry in Translation, The Fingers of Our Soul, The Body's Focus. So this is the first volume from this year, and they asked if they could send it to me because this is a specific body issue centering around a disability, and I love poetry in translation and I love poetry about disability. So I said, yes please do send that to me. So if you are also interested in this, I will link their website in the description box down below, hoping to discover new voices, which is the main thing that I love about literary journals, is that you can find people that you have never read before, and then you can go off and read more work by them, and that's just a joy. Then I've been sent this from, I was going to say Granta, it is not from Granta, it is from Hachette. This is Spring Tides, Exploring Marine Life on the Isle of Man. Again, we have a book here about fish and the sea, all the things I enjoy. This is Spring Tides, where a marine conservationist, Fiona Gell, tells the story of a pioneering project to create the very first marine nature reserve on the Isle of Man. Growing up in a family with strong connections to the sea, Fiona spent time in her father's little boat, listening to stories about fishing and combing the beach for mermaids' purses and whelks' eggs. She developed a lifelong love of the sea and Manx culture, and on her return to the island after 12 years away studying marine life, she led a 3-year-long struggle to establish the island's first marine nature reserve. And this book is all about that, which sounds fantastic. Then I was sent this short story collection, which is called 3 Roads by Emma Timpany. This is published by Postbox Press, and this is by a New Zealand author, and the tagline is, "How do the choices we make, willingly or not, define us?" So, a young man working in a menial job finds a way to grow closer to a lost love. A long married couple's relationship is tested by the arrival of a rare bird. With the benefit of hindsight, a woman recalls a childhood episode of acute appendicitis. An outing to a plant nursery brings simmering family tensions explosively to the surface. I really enjoy it when short stories pinpoint on a particular moment of tension. That sounds like a very vague thing to say, but I just get the sense from this blurb that these are very focused short stories that are hinging on moments that perhaps quite subtly alter relationships, and that dynamic is just something that I'm very much interested in. Then I have 3 poetry collections that have been sent to me by Liverpool University Press. So I won't say too much about these until I have read them, but this is Hiding to Nothing by Anita Pati, which says that it explores the destabilising effects of violence, particularly Empire's aftermath on a psyche. Then we've got Wilder by Jemma Borg, which is asking what is wild within us, what is recoverable. It's about excavation into the deeper and more elusive aspects of our mental and physical lives. And then this is The Room Between Us by Denise Saul, which is a debut collection exploring family and identity as she tells the story of a mother's illness and subsequent aphasia and a daughter's ongoing role as a carer. Then we've got, I was going to say 3, but actually 4. So this is the paperback edition of What Happened to You by James Catchpole, which I've mentioned before and I love. In fact, I've got a little quote from me on the inside. What did I say? I said it was wonderful, delightful and important, and I stand by those words. This is a great picture book which talks about why you shouldn't ask disabled people what is wrong with them and what happened to them, because, you know, that question is boring and we get sick of being asked it all the time. It's great for disabled kids to see themselves in books, and it's also great for non-disabled kids and their non-disabled parents. Then we have Head Above Water, Reflections on Illness by Shahd Alshammari. This is a non-fiction book which takes us into a space of intimate conversation on illness and society's stigmatization of disabled bodies. We are invited in to ask the big blah, 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 blah. Should we try that again? We are invited in to discuss the big questions about life, loss and the place of the other. The narrative builds a bridge that reminds us of our common humanity and weaves the threads that tie us all together. Through conversations about women's identities, bodies and our journeys through life, we arrive at a politics of love, survival and hope. And the card inside it says Shahd is interested in disability studies and the correlation of disability studies with Arab societies, having been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at the age of 18. Then we have a fantasy book, and I don't read lots of fantasy, but the publisher reached out to me and said, would you like a copy of this? Because this is by a disabled author and has a disabled protagonist. And I was like, you know what? Yes, because this is the host of Criplet. This is Spear, and it's by Nicola Griffith. It's also queer and an Arthurian retelling, and I don't want to know too much about it, but I know that she is an unlikely hero, that the protagonist lives in a cave in a wild wood with her mother, and then one day she sets off to find her destiny, and it's quite short for a fantasy as well, so I'm intrigued by this one. And then finally, I was sent The Year of Miracles by Risbridger. This is recipes about love and grief and growing things. I have not read Midnight Chicken, which is outrageous because I should have read that. But this is Ella's new book, and I know she puts so much heart into her writing as well as amazing recipes. So this is the kind of recipe book that you read, I would say, as opposed to just dipping in and out of, which is what I would do with the majority of recipe books. It has more of a narrative, is what I'm saying. But her partner John, who passed away a few years ago, used to be one of our customers at Ripping Yarns when I worked there. So I am very, very keen to read this, and it's going on the TBR, but maybe in the kitchen. I don't know how I'm going to read it, like as a book, or maybe I'll read it whilst cooking other things. I don't know. You don't need to know that. You don't even need to waffle about how I'm going to read a particular book, but I'm excited about it anyway. So those are all the books that I wanted to talk to you about today. As I said, I will list them in the description box down below. Side note, if anyone would like to win a copy of this year's Women's Prize shortlisted titles, Toast are giving away a bundle of the shortlisted books along with the Women's Prize. I write for Toast, I write articles every month, and I reviewed all of the Women's Prize shortlist this year. And if you read through my article, comment underneath, you'll be entered into that giveaway. I will link that in the description box down below for anyone who happens to be interested. I would love to know how you are. I would love to know what you have been up to. If you enjoyed this video and you're not already subscribed and would like to, that would be very kind. And if you like my content and would like to consider supporting me on Patreon, that would be oh so much appreciated. Link to that is also in the description box too. I'm sending lots of love to you all, and I will see you for another video very soon.